Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, and all these kind of Microsoft Suite tools, right? So one thing that I learned when I was working is that these apps are instrumental for everyone moving forward. So someone who's into comp sci, I was not aware about these apps, right? I wasn't aware about these apps. And I found out that these apps, not only are they very important, they are so much integrated into the system already that there is no way to not use it. I was walking back from the gym right now and I entered this library. It's kind of a sick library actually. And I just decided today's video is going to be based on Power Apps. And I should just make a clip before I'm on the setup. So the next clip should be on me on my laptop, and stay tuned, this is a good one. Hey guys, I'm back at my setup now, and I just wanted to start off by talking about all three apps. So the big three in this space is Power Apps, Power BI, and SharePoint. And Power Automate is very close, but the big three are the ones that are the most used in most enterprises. So you'll see these being used everywhere. So that being said, Power Apps. So I like to start with this one because this is more front end kind of thing. I won't be building the whole app here. The primary objective of today's video is to sort of, before I started working in my internship, I had no idea what Power Apps were, no idea what SharePoint was, no idea what fucking Power BI was, right? But the whole thing is that I did my research, I read many sites, I did AI, I did courses on all of it, and I was able to have a good enough understanding to finally use all of it in my work. And I was able to create an app that utilizes all four things. So I feel more confident to talk about the apps, and I'm making a video that I would have wanted to see 2 months ago when I first did the search, what the fuck is Power Apps? So Power Apps, starting out, is front end kind of thing. So what I will do here is I'll create on this button, so where you can select what kind of thing like you're creating for. I select the tablet here by mistake, but most of the time you want to search the first one because it's responsive in both the phones and laptops, which is primarily what you use at work. But the whole idea behind Power Apps is that this is a place where you will create a front end. So I'll use a very simple example. Something that's relatable to everyone would be like a restaurant, let's say. So for instance, let's say I'm a restaurant owner and I want to create an app that uses all these three things that helps me get customer reviews or feedback, that kind of thing. That's the first thing that popped up in my head. So what I would do here is that I would, realizing all of these tools, all of these options that I have here, I would have like a screen where it would say, what is your name? And then I would have a place where you can enter your name. So why don't we do that just so that it's even more clear? So let's say I'm creating this app for a restaurant, right? So I'll go ahead and type out here. So just for idea's sake, I will type something very simple out, what is your name? And I'm not gonna make it look good here because I'm not doing this for work. So what we did here is that this is like interface, right? So whenever the customer uses this app, they will see this first. And we can even try to run it here. So it runs, what is your name, and text input. So here you can input the text, right? So my name is Grish. So I would put in Grish, and I would have another button that says submit or next question. So what did you eat? Did you like our services? Did you find something that was not good? Did you find something that you really liked? Like those kind of questions, right? And these kind of questions or these kind of apps are mostly what these enterprises would want you to build. So as of now, it's mostly IT people or those kind of people who are using these apps. But moving forward, the world that I see should or will have these apps as Excel or Word. You should be able to use all of these. That's the kind of place we're heading at. Even at the place like I work, I've seen some of the department members already using Power BI, Power Apps, and all these tools, which I wasn't even aware about being a comp sci student, which was crazy. I was able to catch up quite fast, but this video should give you like overview. So this is what Power Apps is, right? So this is the most basic example I could find, but it's basically creating an interface that will take the data from the user, right? Okay, so that's all you need to think about. What is your name? Your name is blah. That is now stored, right? So where is it stored? It's very convenient because that's where SharePoint comes in, and SharePoint is a place where the data is stored. So when I asked the question, what is your name, through my app, and the customer said, my name is Tom, my name is freaking Jack, whatever it is, put the name in, and that name now flows down to SharePoint. SharePoint is a place where our data is stored. SharePoint, that's why it's called SharePoint. It's the place where data is stored, and a really good thing about SharePoint is that how the enterprises use it is as a place where all of their data can be stored, right? So let's say we have one department here, department A, in Google, let's say there's a department A, right? So all of department A's data will be stored in this particular part of the SharePoint so that all the members of department A can access it easily. And depending on what you need, depending on hierarchy, depending on all that bullshit kind of things, you'll be able to access particular things. So that's the idea behind SharePoint. Power Apps is something that takes data from the user. So that's the most easiest way to think about it. So it's taking data from the users. And SharePoint is where the data is being stored. So now the data is being stored. What the fuck are you going to do with the data, right? So what you are going to do with data is you're going to use the data to maybe for data analytics, or maybe for just seeing trends, for seeing God knows what. So you're using this data to visualize things, to find out what you can do with this data. That's where Power BI kicks in. It will look something like this when you first start it. What the idea about Power BI is that you have these Excel sheets or data in SQL servers, sample data, whatever data you have. Power BI aims to make it visual so that people can understand what the fuck does the data mean, right? So if there's hundreds of customers coming in, more than normal, let's say on average, let's say 50 customers come to my restaurant, right? But on Fridays, 200 people are coming in. So in Power BI, you would see a spike in it, right? The most basic example is the line graph or chart. So you would see, oh, on this particular day, there's a lot of a lot of people coming in, right? So maybe you want to manage your stocks that way. Maybe you want to have more people serving that day. Those kind of things. Again, the examples I'm using are very simple so that everyone can understand it. But it gets like when you're working at a bigger organization, there's so many departments. There's sustainability, there's leadership, there's freaking community. There's so many different departments, right? And every department have their own sort of things they do and their own sort of workflows. So these apps, when they're all integrated to create one thing, they basically are aiming to make the workflow more efficient. That's how I look at it. And I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday, and he's working at another tech another tech enterprise, a big one. And he was telling me how he uses the same tools too. And when I was looking at what he did, it was very similar to what I was doing. So it's basically just, you get into these companies and you're just trying to make your own workflow easier, or you're making their workflow better. As someone who works in positions like me, depending on what you work in, it will be different for you. But I am quite sure that moving forward, everyone will have to learn these things. And when you put this in your resume that, oh shit, I know Power Apps, I've created this, it gives you a slight edge over people who don't have. Moving on, Power BI. So that data will be used in Power BI to interpret it in such a way that it will be more visual, it will mean something, the numbers will mean something. So one very good example is a sample data that I loaded right before I made the video. This is a sample data. I can't use any of my actual data because that would be breach from my workplace, but this is sample data that I could find online. So when you see this data, right, you can go ahead and be like, oh, France, government, Montana, medium. You can read all of these shits, but when you're working with thousands of people, you're working with millions of lines of data, right? You can't be reading through every single one. So that's when Power BI comes in, and you can use Power BI to create a visual for this. And you can have a lot of other things here. You can import your Excel sheets, you can import all sorts of data and present it in such a way that it's more interactive. You can actually understand what it means. And the people who are reading this data can then figure out a way to tweak a few things so that the data changes. And basically, like depending on what you're doing in my restaurant, I would be aiming to get more people, or I would be aiming to use less resources, or I would be aiming to do waste management. Fun fact, I heard about this thing in a podcast yesterday, that if you can get down in the food industry, if you get your waste management down by like 2%, your profit margins go up 20. Some crazy data, but regardless of the point, you can use that data in a certain way to do things, right? So what do we have until now? Power Apps, where I ask the customer's name. SharePoint, where I store the customer's name. And in the SharePoint, there's hundreds of customers, let's say. I'll use that SharePoint data, I'll import it to Power BI and see what the hell is going on. When is the numbers of customer peaking? When are they not more likely to come, or what they're ordering? What kind of orders are getting? More number of people, and why is that? Those kind of questions. And then the last thing would be Power Automate, where, as it sounds, Power Automate, trying to automate a few different workflows. And there's a lot of things you can do with it. A very simple example would be, I could set up things in each of these 4 different tools and there's the 100 customers coming on Wednesday. My boss gets an email of the chart that's made in Power BI, and he will send to get this data into his email, because he needs to look at these things, right? Maybe that doesn't make sense. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of these kind of tasks, and when you're working at an enterprise, maybe there's something that you're doing every week. So let's say I'm reporting to my manager every Friday, let's say, right? I do it 1 Friday, 2 Friday, 3 Friday. So moving forward, I'll have to do this for years on end, right? Assuming that I worked there for years. Why do that when you can just automate it? So if I'm sending this manual email to him every week, I would rather just use Power Automate to automatically email this thing to him every Friday. And where am I getting this email? Maybe I'm using SharePoint's data to make a graph in Power BI, and I'm exporting it, and then I'm emailing it to my manager. But that's a menial task that I shouldn't be doing. So what I can do is set the data to come in Power BI automatically. It will refresh every hour, and every Friday will get emailed to my manager. If I set up this workflow one time, it's just going to keep on working itself until I stop it, right? So that saves time, resources, it's more efficient. I never miss a date. Guess why? Because it's fucking automatic. I'm not doing it, so I won't miss it. So these are the reasons why we even get pushed to use these kind of tools or learn these new things, because we are trying to get more efficient. We're trying to use as much less resources as possible, and ultimately companies are trying to make money, so more efficient equals to more dollars. That's why we use all of these tools. But regardless, learning these tools, learning anything is obviously good. Well, not anything, like good things is good. And it just happens to be that I think that in the next 5 years, Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, and SharePoint will be as normal as Excel or Word. So it's beneficial the faster you get in. And it's not even that complicated. You just get in, you make one app, and you feel good, you feel confident, you feel like you can do more with it. So that's about it for the video. I just re-encapsulate everything. Power Apps, where you make the interface, where you make the apps that the customers are actually using. SharePoint, where all the data from Power Apps is going. Power BI, where you visualize those data. Automate, where you create workflows so that you don't have to manually do things. That's actually it. Like, to summarize it, as long as you remember those 4 things about those 4 apps, you'll be good. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.